Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to read a very entertaining email I was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy, he is 29 years old, and he shares his story how just recently he was able to have the last laugh after an ex-girlfriend from 10 years ago reached out to him out of the blue on Facebook looking to reconnect. And let's just say, she hasn't aged well, proving they always come back. Well, our guy here shares his story that 10 years ago, he and his girlfriend had been together for like a year and a half. They were both sophomores in college. And then the 2016 election season came around, and Trump was running for president, and she, like a lot of gals, went bananas and got all crazy emotional, got caught up in things, and she went from being seemingly cool to losing her mind, joining these groups, feminist groups, going on marches and rallies and all this crap, and she changed overnight and lost it. And you're going to see, just like a lot of these stories, how it goes. And, well, it doesn't end too well. And our guy here really does get to have the last laugh. And it'll be an entertaining one to go over here, guys, because every so often a story like this pops up about these gals get wrapped up in the feminist movement for whatever reasons, and then guess what? It does not end well for them later on. And, of course, my point is that they always come back, even if it's 10 years later, if they want something or their lives have gone to crap. Oh, and before I forget, be sure to come over and check out my new men's community I'm building over on Patreon and Locals. Come join your fellow scum and villainy over there. Having a really good time. You come over and become a free member. Just check it out, see what it's all about, or you can become a paying supporter. Paying supporters get exclusive videos that don't show up here on YouTube. I usually do 2 or 3 of them a week, plus all my videos on YouTube from all 3 channels, commercial-free and in advance. And, of course, it's censorship-free. And I'll post a link at the top of the description and the comment section. So it starts off, he says here, "Hey SSM, my story that began 10 years ago and its very unexpected conclusion that happened recently should put a big smile on your face. This story is going to back up what you say about them always coming back, even if it's 10 years later. My name is Brandon, and in the spring of 2016, when the bulk of the story takes place, I was 19, a sophomore, and since then, in my early freshman year, 2014, I've been dating and then in a relationship with my girlfriend, Steph. We had a couple classes together as well as some mutual friends. One night at a party, we started to talk, and the rest was history. She was a cute blonde with a curvy body with a great ASS. She was fun to hang around with, seemed to have a good sense of humor at first, liked to do a lot of things I like hiking, rock climbing, gym, etc., plus was very aggressive in the sack. At the time, I thought I had it made. Well, sure, in the beginning, that's usually how it is. And I like how you said a good sense of humor. Well, I never in my life have I ever met an effeminist with a sense of humor. But I guess this is before that was switched on. In our freshman year, I was already a business major, as back then I knew what I wanted to do. Steph, like a lot of freshmen, was an undeclared major, as she really didn't know what she wanted to do and just took the typical prerequisite classes. After a year and a half of dating, when the national primaries were in full effect, Steph started to move away from the fun and good sense of humor girlfriend that she was, and started talking more and more about politics. In particular, she would voice her growing disdain for Trump. Since we were at a full-fledged university, it wasn't long before various meetings, rallies, marches, etc. were a common occurrence on the grounds. Steph began spending less time with me and more times with these groups, in particular, the feminist groups. And at that moment, should have been the time to cut things loose with her. A year and a half with her, had your fun, because it ain't going to be fun anymore. But you didn't know. So many of these gals, so many women across the board, across the country, got just suddenly, this thing triggered the emotions, and they got all out of control and across the board. I remember like it was yesterday. Then again in 2020 and 2024. The real issues began when she would occasionally give me a hard time about not agreeing with all of her and her new quote-unquote friends' views on things. I would tell her that I didn't want to discuss politics and have fun like we always had. Good answer. You didn't want to get into it, but she did. And a lot of these gals are just poke and poke and poke and poke. How can you not care? Blah, 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 blah. I remember. She, of course, didn't want to hear that, and on more than one occasion, when she was all worked up, usually after one of those feminist events, I would eventually tell her that I'm not into drama and went home. Good for you, man. That was a good way to handle it. Well, usually after that, she would text or stop by the next day and apologize, and we would be good until the next Effinist event, and she would get all worked up again. This would have been a good time to break up with her, but you were young and you didn't know. When the semester and school year ended in early May of 2016, we'd been together for nearly a year and a half. Obviously, things had gotten rocky in the last couple months, and I'd hoped that the summer break from campus would snap her back into reality. I was going back home to my state and Steph to hers. Nope, no such thing, amigo. You had high hopes. Well, we did the long distance thing this summer. I know, smack. Yeah, smack. But you were young, you didn't know. I was working full-time, and she was going on some trips with family. At first, we would talk regularly, and she seemed to be back to her old self. However, by the time we got into July of 2016, she was definitely less interested in talking, and when we did talk, she was not very enthusiastic. Pay attention to people's actions. And so the whole summer you weren't going to see her, huh? But you were still together? Well, hence the long-distance thing. By August, a couple weeks before our junior year began, we weren't really talking at all. What does that say about her? What does that say about your level of importance to her? None. What do you think she's doing with all her time? Well, we're about to find out. SSM, I was at a point that I didn't want to waste my time anymore. I was being patient and giving her the extreme benefit of the doubt. I figured that when we started school, we would talk, and if she was just uninterested, I would break things off with her. I had a few opportunities with girls this summer that I passed up, and I was not going to do that again when we got back to school. Good, man. You went way beyond what you should have, but I like that you were going into this knowing, this is probably not going to work. Well, a couple weeks later, I got back to school, settled into my apartment with my two of my friends, and proceeded to get my classes all lined up. At this time, and at this point, I still hadn't heard from Steph. You know, my supposed girlfriend. So you're back to school, back on campus, you haven't heard anything from her. And you know she's there. I knew it was over, but I was going to have a chat with her first. I texted her telling her that I was back and we should meet up. About an hour later, she responded that she was back and having lunch if I wanted to meet up. Foolishly, I agreed to this, and off I went to meet her at a local bar restaurant place in town. Let's see how this thing plays out. When I got there, I couldn't find her at first. It was very busy, and I thought I had the wrong place. I called her, and she told me that she was on the back patio. I walked out back, and there she was, along with about 5 other girls who looked oh so happy to see me. If you're reading this on closed caption, I'm being sarcastic here. He's being sarcastic. Obviously, she was not happy to see him, nor her friends. I would also like to point out that half of them had some, wait for it, color in their hair, and they dressed like crap. Well, Steph stood up, and I thought my mouth was going to hit the floor. She had cut half her hair off, as it had once gone down to the middle of her back. The hair that was left was buzzed above her ears, and the cherry on top was she had some blue streaks. In other words, she looked like crap. Now we know what she's been doing during that summer, dude. She's been hanging out with these gals, probably meeting up, and next thing you know, she's chopping her beautiful long hair that she had, buzzing above the ears. I remember seeing girls doing that. The blue streaks. You didn't say anything about nose rings, but flip a coin where that happened here. Such a shame. This is empowerment? Really? This is the way they fight back against the patriarchy? That dye goes into their freaking brains. Now, clearly, she could tell I was surprised, obviously, that I had been set up. And instead of giving me a hug or saying something like, "It's good to see you," she just said, "Something wrong?" with a very annoyed tone. I started to laugh a bit as this was just so ridiculous. I looked her over, dressed like crap too, and told her we should talk in person, tonight. I then turned around and walked away. I could hear the snide comments coming from her friends. Dude, why don't you should have just broken up with her on the spot, or just walked away, and that'd been the end of it. But, I guess obviously you need to have, curiosity was getting at you. I don't know. When that happened next, I'll give you the cliff notes. I texted her after and told her to meet me in the cafeteria in an hour, alone. Surprisingly, she actually showed up. I'm surprised she showed up, dude. I'm probably shouldn't give you attitude. Don't tell me what to do. I found out that she spent the last 6 weeks of summer with some of her new friends. Big surprise. She said that she needs to start this year with a clean slate, and we're no longer right for each other. And I said, no shit. Dude, you could have predicted this. So it was so predictable. No kidding, you're not right for each other. She claimed that we no longer fit, and I don't take the important issue seriously, and I clearly don't support her. So in other words, because you don't 100% agree with her and go to these marches and probably carry a man purse and man bun, you don't support her. She said that she could feel me judging her when she saw me earlier. Look, last time you saw her, she had long blonde hair and looked good and all that, and now she's, looking like a fucking Smurf. Well, then again, Smurfs didn't have blue hair. They had blue skin. My bad. But you get my point. And her friends think that I'm a Trumper. That's pretty much, that was the attitude. Either you're one of them or not. The whole thing was so ridiculous. I couldn't believe that I even wasted my afternoon going to talk to her and the past summer. I stayed loyal to her, and the writing had been on the wall for months. Yes, it has. Yes, it was, man. But at least you got a good story to tell. So I didn't waste my time debating or arguing against what she said. I basically said, okay, best of luck, and I turned around and walked away. That was a good way to do it. Don't give her any more drama, because she wants drama. I'll admit I was annoyed. I should have just ended it with her before this encounter. I knew it was over, but for some reason I just had to talk to her. Now she got to tell everybody that she broke up with me. My 20-year-old mind fumed over that for a couple of weeks. Yeah, she did. It was on her terms, but I would have gone and met with her. Anyhow, the next few months went as follows. I went back to being a single guy. I got back into the rhythm of school, classes, etc., the gym, and hanging out with my bros. I would hear about Steph from time to time. She was going to more and more of those rallies, protests, etc. I was even told by a mutual friend that she finally declared a major at the beginning of the school year, and guess what it was? You guessed it, women's studies. Yeah, I'd like to know how that worked out for her 10 years later. Good luck finding a job doing that. The 2016 election happened, and there were mass meltdowns on campus. My university was one of those that had the quote-unquote safe spaces. Oh, for goodness sake. The women's marches and protest meetings only increased at school. I would see Steph out on occasion. She still had the blue hair and had put on some weight. Ha ha ha. Well, that usually comes hand in hand. Well, a year and a half later, at the end of 2018, I graduated on time with a degree in business administration. Apparently, Steph did not graduate on time, and I heard about a year later she had dropped out. Probably to go protest in Washington, D.C. or something like that. But good for you, man, not getting interrupted with that and sticking to your grind, being on the timeline there. Eventually, I went for my MBA, and a couple years later, landed myself a nice job at a top, well-known company. I was a starter position, but I was in. Then COVID hit the world, but I was able to work from home, so I enjoyed the peace and quiet. Now fast forward to 2026. I recently changed jobs to a better paying one, and I'm happy to say that I'm doing pretty well. I have an apartment with one of my friends, and I'm looking to purchase a condo next year. Great, man. Good for you. I'm really glad to hear that. I still go to the gym regularly, enjoy my hobbies, and I'm seeing a girl who's not at all psycho about politics. We shall see. Yeah, we shall see, man. You've been down that road before. Does she know about Steph? I'm assuming you told the story. Anyhow, I've been watching your channel since 2024 and tune in regularly to keep me sharp. Anyway, back to what I said in the beginning about the whole they always come back thing. Well, we've been eagerly awaiting it, man. Last week, I went on Facebook, I do on occasion, and saw that I had a couple messages in the folder for non-friends. Lo and behold, there was a message from a familiar name, but not so familiar face. You guessed it, it was Steph, or codename Steph. I couldn't believe it. After nearly a decade, why was she messaging me? Probably because at this point she's 29 years old, almost 30. Probably things aren't going too well in her life, and she's going to back what she perceives as a sure thing. Because after all, she ended it with you in her mind, so she's reaching out to you. Who knows? But these are usually the reasons. Guess things aren't going too well in her life, and she's actually reaching out, even though you were the problem with the world and all that. Well, I could not resist, and I clicked on the message. She pretty much said who she was, asked if I remembered her, and wanted to say hi as she's catching up with old friends from college. And he says, friends, question mark. She says she lives in California, works for a nonprofit. There's nothing against working for a nonprofit. A lot of people, it helps a lot of people out. But I'm not surprised, given the direction she was going to school, that she lives in California and works for a nonprofit. And if I was ever in town, to let her know we could meet up. What the fuck? Really? Does she not remember what happened? Does she not remember how she treated you in the end and all that? It's amazing. Well, I snapped a picture of her message and sent it to a couple of my buddies from school, and they all laughed their asses off. They remember how she went off the deep end and how she, quote-unquote, dumped me. I also showed my girlfriend, and the first thing she said was, "You dated her?" She said this as in the picture, Steph no longer had blue hair. It was back to looking long and blonde. It's just that she, wait for it, looked like she weighs 300 pounds. As you say, SSM, they always come back, Brandon. There you go. They always come 10 years later. Okay, well, that's nice. She lost the blue hair and grew the hair back and all that. But a little side note, she looks like she weighs 300 pounds. I guess she was eating a lot of cupcakes at those feminist rallies or something like that. I don't know. But anyhow, there you go. That's a good story, man. That's a pretty funny one. It's amazing, like I said, how much drama came about. I mean, there's always drama. But really, how much drama was unraveled, came out starting in 2016 and just continued. And every election year, 2016, 20, 24, it all starts up again. And the gals threaten to break up with their boyfriends or divorce their husbands because they don't agree with them politically and blah, 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 and the marches and the drama. That's why I got off Facebook. I couldn't stand all the crap I was seeing all the time. But, and so many guys I have done a couple stories similar to this, whether it was 2020 or 2024, and the girlfriends get all worked up and the guys aren't taking them seriously. And then this is what you have. So for the guys that have written in about, or articles I covered about girls losing their minds in 2020 and 2024, down the road, it's not going to go so well for them. You can clearly see, why do you think she's reaching out to you? Because her life obviously is crap. And she really thinks, given that she looks like she weighs 300 pounds, that she has a shot with you. But this is the level of delusion they have there. She's 29, probably doesn't have a lot going for her, and this is like a last-ditch effort, But it's like, cut down on the Happy Meals, honey. Cut down on the trips to Dunkin' Donuts and Krispy Kreme, and maybe you got a shot. But good God Almighty. But anyhow, yeah, there you go. They always come back. But I'm glad you're doing well, and I appreciate you writing in. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And, guys, you got a great story to share. Send it my way, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good story, I'll definitely cover it. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.